Yeah, as I was saying, today we're going to change the topic a little bit. We are going to be talking about the passive voice in all forms, or at least the most important forms that there are in English. Then I'm gonna have you do a speaking activity related to the passive voice so we can practice. Yeah, we have studied the passive voice before. This is not completely new. So it's just like a review of all forms. Um, yeah, I think it's important to review it at least once before we finish the course. Um, so before moving on to the next objective that we have on this course, I wanted to review a little bit the last activities that we were doing on Miro, just so we remember these modal verbs that we have been practicing. And yeah, that's going to be like a general overview, and then we can move on to the next objective. So let me start sharing my screen. And let me go back to Miro. And we're just going to review one of them in order for you to remember how it works. Let me make this smaller. So in the first exercise, you guys needed to rewrite the sentences using must, might not, or could plus have, right? So it depending on the sentence that you had. The example was, I'm certain I left my umbrella at home. It's not in the office. And when you change it into using a modal verb, it was something like that. I must have left my umbrella at home, right? So that's the idea. Then I gave you 10 sentences to be changed into passive voice. No, sorry, into modal verbs. Um, these ones were only about possibility, okay? Then we're going to be talking about regrets. So this is about possibility. I must have left my umbrella at home. It's when there are a lot of possibilities of that being true. Okay, so I must have left it. It's like I'm almost certain that I left it at home. And then we have Holly's crying. Maybe she had an argument with her boyfriend, and these people decided to use might have. So she might have a discussion with her boyfriend. A discussion, it's okay, but I think that in this case, an argument is better. A discussion could be something friendly. For example, I have something to discuss with you. It could be friendly, like I just want to see your opinion about it. Okay, so a discussion in English, it's not always a bad thing. Whereas an argument, it is something quite hard, um, where two people are very angry at each other, so they have an argument. An argument is what in Spanish we call una discusión, una pelea. So go for an argument. A discussion, it's not something bad per se. So yeah, an argument is better. Then we have, I'm sure Ben got my email. I sent it first thing this morning. And they used must have. So Ben must have received my email. He must have forgotten to read it. It's okay. Just with the first part, it was perfect. So yeah, they added the second part, which is fine. It's not a problem. I'm sure Sam and Ginny didn't get lost. They have a GPS in the car. So we have Sam and Ginny couldn't be lost. It's okay. It's in the present, but the sentence is in the past. Okay, so I would have rather that people wrote something in the past, right? So I'm sure Sam and Ginny didn't get lost. I'm sure. Let's do it like this. I'm sure. Uh, Ginny. Some wouldn't have lost. I would do it also like that, like with all of the ingredients of the past, because yeah, I guess that it would be more correct if the sentence is in the past. We are talking about a past possibility, if you wish. We are dreaming about a different past. But yeah, again, this is correct because it's in the present, okay? It's not grammatically incorrect. It's just that it doesn't match the tense of the first sentence, I would say. Then we have number 4. You saw Elite yesterday? That's impossible. She was in bed with the flu. So you must have seen somebody else, or you must have been confused. Both of them are correct. The idea here is that they changed everything into something else, which is fine. If you can stay, or if you want to remain with the same idea, then you can use this one. You couldn't have seen Elite. And then you can add everything else. So you couldn't have seen Elite because she was in bed with the flu. All right, so yeah, it is also possible. Again, these are not incorrect sentences. They are very correct. It's just that they changed the context a little bit. But yeah, whatever you have done, as long as you are using the modal verb, have and the participle form, it is correct. Then in number 5, we have maybe John didn't see you. That's why he didn't say hello. So we have John might have been distracted, or John might have forgotten his glasses. Both are correct. This is John. Maybe John didn't see you, so he might have been distracted. If you want to use like the same or almost the same words, you can say might not have seen you. Might not have seen you. I think that's also a good option here. Yeah, both, well, the 3 of them are correct. Again, I'm not saying that the first 2 are not correct. I'm just saying that if you want to use the same words, you could have said it like this. That's a possibility. Let me go to the bottom. So I'm sure Lucy bought a new car. I saw her driving a blue Honda Civic. So Lucy might have been testing a new car, or Lucy must have been really happy. Both of them are correct. And if you want to stay with the same words, let me write this one. Lucy might have bought a new car. Lucy might have bought a new car. The 3 of them are correct again. Number 7, I'm sure Alex wasn't very sick. He was only out of work for 1 day. So Alex might have been working hard last week. I don't think that is correct. According to the context, grammatically, it is correct. So we have Alex must might not have been very sick. Very sick. Because he was out of work only for 1 day, right? So might not have been very sick. Yeah, then we have number 8. They didn't come to our wedding. Maybe they didn't receive the invitation, so they might not have received the invitation on time. Perfectly correct. Because this is the possibility here. I have no suggestions in number 8. Then we have number 9. This tastes very sweet. I'm sure you use too much sugar. So you must have washed your teeth. Again, not incorrect, but a little crazy. You must have used too much sugar. If you want to use the same words again. So you must have used too much sugar. That's a possibility. And then number 10, it definitely wasn't my phone that rang in the movie theater. Mine was turned off. So it couldn't have been my phone because it was turned off. Perfectly correct. There's not a problem with that one. We don't need the comma. It's unnecessary. Yeah, and that's what we have. So I wanted to review these sentences because they were like the most different ones according to the examples that we had. And I wanted to give you the examples using almost the same words, or at least the same idea that we had on the sentence. That was my intention here. Marcelo, tell us.
Thanks. Good evening, Val. In
Hey.
number 6 and 7, if I am sure, should I use must instead might?
That's right. Yeah. Thank you for correcting that, because yes, if I am sure, that's definitely the case. Yep. And also in this one. Yeah, thank you, Marcelo. That's a very good comment. Yep. Good. Do we have more comments or questions? Let me just bold it so we know exactly what the relationship is. Yeah. Remember that when we're choosing the modal verb that we want to include in our phrase, we have to think about the degree of possibility. And Marcelo's comment here is perfect, because if I am sure, then I'm almost certain I need to use must. So yeah, that's a very, very good comment. All right, and let me move on to the next one. In the next exercise, we have to use should or shouldn't have. That's a verb in the participle form. So remember that when you use should or shouldn't have, you are referring to regrets, things that you consider they shouldn't have been that way. So it's very related to regrets. All right, so in the previous ones, we are talking about possibility only. Must, may, might, could, couldn't, etc. Can also. That's only for possibility. Should and shouldn't, it's for regrets, things that you wish had been different, right? So that's the difference between the other verbs and this one. And that's why we are not mixing them, because they are used for different things, different purpose, if you wish. So we have Tom told me the date of his party, but I couldn't remember it. So you should have written it down. When we say you should have written it down, it's something that didn't happen, and now we regret it didn't happen. So it's like giving an advice that it's impossible for the past, because we cannot change the past. Okay, so it's a regret. In number 2, we have I was late, sorry, because there was so much traffic. And the answer is you shouldn't have come by car. The subway is much faster. Right? So again, related to a regret or something that shouldn't have happened that way. So now we wish they would have been different. Number 3, Amanda was rude to everyone at my party, and the advice is you shouldn't have invited her. You shouldn't have invited her. You know what she is like, right? So again, we are expressing a regret, something that didn't happen, but we wish had happened. Number 4, I don't have any money left after going shopping yesterday. You shouldn't have bought so many shoes. Did you really need 3 pairs? So again, you shouldn't have bought. In reality, you did buy so many shoes, but in an imaginary or hypothetical situation, we say you shouldn't have done it. It's like an advice for the past. Then we have you looked really tired. I know I should have come to bed earlier last night. And that is true for teachers, I guess, for everybody here. So I should have gone to bed earlier. I didn't in reality, but in my imaginary hypothetical situation, I think I should have done it. Number 6, the kitchen's still frozen solid. I know you should have taken it out of the freezer earlier. All right, so in reality, I didn't take it out of the freezer earlier, and now in my imaginary situation, I say, I should have done it, or you should have done it. Number 7, I think I have a sunburn on my face. And the answer to that is, I'm not surprised. You shouldn't have sat in the sun all afternoon without any sunscreen. So you shouldn't have sat. In reality, I sat in the sun all afternoon without any sunscreen. But in my imaginary situation, I wish things had been different. Then we have 8, as Sue is in bed with a stomach ache. Let me move this. And the answer for that is, you should have eaten so much chocolate cake yesterday. Okay, so you shouldn't have eaten. Now, in reality, I ate so much chocolate cake, and in reality, I have a stomach ache. My imaginary advice is that you shouldn't have done it. That's the idea with this. So remember that when you are using should have or shouldn't have, you are talking about regrets or past advice that in the present is not useful because you cannot change the past. It's just we are imagining a different kind of past. If things had been correct, for example. Yeah, Edmundo, tell us.
Good evening, Valeria. In number 7, we have to use sat or to sit.
Oh, yeah, that's a good question. And the answer is sat, because you always have to use the participle form, remember. So in the present, we have set. In the past, we have sat, and sat in the participle form. So we are using this form always. There is no exception, right? So yeah, that's also a very good question, because I saw in many other sentences, not only in this example, but in other examples, and also when some people were speaking, some people tend to forget the participle form. So in the present, you have to use the base form. In the past, you have to use the participle form, right? So you shouldn't have sat, you shouldn't have gone, you shouldn't have, etc. Now, with the verb come, for example, here, you shouldn't have come. It's confusing for some people because the verb is confusing. Come, it's in the present. Came, it's the past. And come is the participle form. So it's the same as the present. So that's why it is sometimes a little confusing. But yeah, always the participle form is the one that we need to use. Yeah, so do we have more comments or questions about this one?
No, thank you.
Yeah, all right, thank you for the question. So yeah, that's it. It's not more complicated than this. The only thing that may be a little confusing is remembering the formula for the present, the formula for the past. But yeah, again, they are not complicated. If you practice enough, you are not going to forget about it. Remember that everything is related to practice. So the more you practice, the easier it gets. And then we had a reading and speaking activity. But yeah, I was checking this is also correct. So yeah, no problem with that one. Yeah, it was just related to some vocabulary regarding arguments, some interesting verbs related to that, and yeah, trying to compare the way women and men argue. So yeah, that was pretty much it. By the way, in case you're wondering, let me go up. We were reviewing this one. the team 8 slide. It was just accidentally. Don't think that I chose this one for any specific reason. It was just accidentally because it was the last one that I checked this morning. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, so with this review, I think that we can move on to the next topic. Again, I recommend trying to make up your own examples, trying to continue working on this, because it is easy to forget things that you don't use, especially related to language. So yeah, I recommend practicing so you don't forget about modal verbs, especially because they are confusing, because we don't have the same modal verbs in Spanish. So it is easy to forget how they work or the degree of probability, etc. So whenever you can, make your own examples. Try to write down a few sentences at least once a day. Try to describe things that are happening around you using these activities. Try to include them into your daily life. That's the only way we can make sure that we don't forget about it. So yeah, now we are going to move on to the next objective. Let me go here. And let me close this. So, oh no, I have it open. All right, so let me make this bigger also. We were working on Unit 8, making deductions. Now we are moving on to Unit 9. And what we are going to do here is review. It's a general overview of the passive form. Yeah, because at our level, this is not new. But it's something that, again, we might have forgotten because yeah, in Spanish we don't speak using the passive form that much, so it's not something that we have very fresh in our heads. But in English we use it a lot, so that's why we have to review it, because it is important. So today we are trying to work with the first two objectives. Communicative competences. We're going to try to describe things, inventions, or explain procedures, explain how something works, how something is done, etc. All right, so yeah, let's go there. I sent you this video to be watched before the class. And why did I do that? So you can remember a little bit how the passive voice works. All right, so in this video, they were comparing the active voice and the passive voice, and they were using the most common ways in which we can use the passive voice. So the first thing that I want you to remember is that we use the modal verbs always by including the verb to be. All right, so the verb to be is gonna tell you which verb tense you are using. So what is the formula of the passive voice? It's very simple. Whenever you have the verb to be in any tense, present, past, or future, plus a participle form, that means passive voice. All right, so again, the formula is not complicated at all. You can truly identify the passive voice just by sticking to this formula. Verb to be in any tense plus participle form, that's definitely passive voice. So how do I know something is the participle form? Because you need to remember, do in the present, did in the past, done in the participle form. So the third form, it's always the participle form. In this case, we do have the two ingredients. We have verb to be plus the participle form of the verb to. So my homework is done. How do I know if this is a present simple? Because we have the verb to be in the present. That's it. Not more complicated than that. Then in the present continuous, same ingredients, but you are going to use the verb to be in conjugated in the third form is, and in the base form plus ing, so that becomes a gerund. Remember that the continuous forms always have an ing form. Like doing in this case, right? So in the passive voice, you also have to include the ing form, the gerund. So my homework is being done. Then the second ingredient, it's also present because you have the participle form there, and that's what you need, right? So the participle form, that's all we need. Let me mark it again. Then in the past simple, we have the same thing, but we have the verb to be in the past. That's how we know this is the past simple, because the verb to be is in the past form. And we have the participle form, done. So my homework was done. That's it. The same is going to happen in the past continuous, because you have to use the verb to be in the plus the verb to be in the gerund form. So my homework was being done. And the second ingredient is also there because you have the participle form of the verb did. Then we have the present perfect, which is going to include the auxiliary verb have or has, plus the verb to be in the participle form, plus the participle form of any verb, right? So to make it perfect, that's what you're going to do. But auxiliary verb, have or has, participle form of the verb to be, and participle form of any other verb. That's how we know it's perfect. Then in the past perfect, it's going to happen the same, but the auxiliary verb in this case needs to be in the past. So had. And then we have the verb to be in the participle form, had been, plus the participle form of the second verb, had been done. My homework had been done. In the future, it's the same idea. You're going to need the auxiliary verb for the future. In this case, it's will, plus the verb to be in the base form, because remember that after will, the verb is always in the base form. And then the participle form of any other verb. That's it. My homework will be done. Future with be going to, you're going to need be going to conjugated, plus the verb to be in the base form, plus the participle form of any verb. So my homework is going to be done. Then you have a modal verb. Any modal verb could be may, must, can, could, etc. And any modal verb plus the base form, because remember that after modal verbs, we do not conjugate the verb, plus the participle form. My homework must be done. And finally, we have the modal perfect, which is exactly what we have been practicing. You need the modal verb, in this case, should, plus have, plus the participle form of the verb to be, plus the participle form of any other verb. So my homework should have been done. This is a regret for the past. Something that we should have done, but we didn't. Right? So it's a past regret. Now it's an impossibility because we cannot change the past. So my homework should have been done. That structure is not more complicated than that. You need to focus on the use of the verb to be. The verb to be is going to tell you which tense you're using. You need to use it in the correct form, of course. You need to realize the times when you need an auxiliary, which auxiliary, and you always need to remember the participle form of any other verb. That's it. When we use the passive voice, we are focusing on the action. Something was done, something was invented, something was cleaned, something was bought, etc. We are not focusing on who did the action. We don't know. For example, if I say my homework is done, I don't know who did it. I'm not telling you who did it. Why am I not telling you? Because maybe it's not important. It's not relevant for the context. I don't know who did it. I don't care who did it. Right? So we may have all of those reasons why not to say who did something. Because what it is important is that something was done. We don't necessarily need to know who did it, right? So that's why we would use the passive form. In present perfect, can we say my homework have been done? No, we can't. Why not? Because we are talking about it. My homework can be replaced by it. So anytime that you are using he, she, it, the auxiliary verb becomes has. Why? Because it's the third person singular. And in the third person singular, you need to conjugate the verb by adding an s at the end. So yeah, it is impossible to say my homework have been done. No, it doesn't work like that. Yeah, do we have more comments, questions, complaints about the passive voice? No problem. Now it's time for you to ask your questions. Passive voice, I think it's very confusing. Yeah, it is confusing because we don't use it that much in Spanish. So yeah, I guess that we would never see something like this in Spanish, but in English it works and we do use it. So it is important. Yeah, so just in case someone is wondering, I want to know how we can translate this into Spanish. My homework should have been done. How can we translate this into Spanish? Can anybody help me? I'm talking about this one.
Mi tarea debió haber sido hecha.
There you go. Yes, thank you, Ale. So, yeah, my homework should have been done. Mi tarea debió haber sido hecha. So it's something about the past. In reality, it wasn't done. But now we think it should have been done. Like, I regret. If things could be different, it should have been done. All right. So in Spanish, we never speak like that. But in English, it makes a lot of sense. My homework must be done. How can we translate this one? My homework must be done. Oops.
Mi tarea debe ser hecha.
Yeah, very good. Thank you very much, Ale. Again, mi tarea debe ser hecha. Present obligation. Now it needs to be done. Probably by me, but it needs to be done. Right? So yeah, that's the idea. So it depends on which verb tense you are talking about, the tense that you are going to be using. Right? So yeah, let's focus on that. Now, oops. Let me change. Well, yeah. Tell me, Marcel.
Yes, good
Hey.
evening. In modal, it's possible to use my homework must to be done,
Must to be.
or it's necessary to use to be done at the end of the sentence.
Yes. Well, that's a good question because I hear a lot of to's after modal verbs. And the answer is nope. And a big nope. Why not? Because after modal verbs, let me write this, after modal verbs, we use base form. And let me use something else. We always use base form. There is no exception. So after any modal verb, in any tense, I can never use to. So I can to go, impossible. I can go, I must go, I should go, I might go, I could go, I will go, I would go, etc. So it's always base form. You can never add to, right? So don't try it because I hear a lot of people say I can to go, I could to go. Nope, it doesn't work like that. It's weird. So yeah, after a modal verb, even if it's active, passive, present, past, future, etc., don't use to. It's not necessary. It's never necessary. Yeah, that's it. Alejandra, tell us.
I think it's a question apart from what we're talking about, but we had been talking about very much about modal verbs. Maybe you have explained it in another course, but please, and excuse me, what does a modal verb is? What
Oh,
is a modal verb?
what is a modal verb? That is a very good question. Yes.
Thank you.
What is a modal verb? Well, yeah, that's an interesting question because a modal verb is like a special verb, if you wish. In English, we have regular verbs, irregular verbs, that they are the most common. Then we have auxiliary verbs. The auxiliary verbs are the ones that help build questions and negative sentences. So that's why they are called auxiliary, because they help with the questions and negative sentences. And then we have the modal verbs. And the modal verbs are quite specific, okay? Why do we have modal verbs in English? We have them because in English, we have like many options to express possibility and regrets, right? So, and also obligations, right? So a modal verb is one verb that helps us express those kind of ideas, right? So they are called modal verbs because they are different from the other verbs, from the regular and irregular, and also from the auxiliary verb. They are different in the way that they are not conjugated in the same way. For example, a modal verb doesn't have three forms. Okay, so again, to go back to my example of do, did, done, a regular verb and an irregular verb always has three forms. A modal verb doesn't, right? So it's very specific in that matter. We usually modal verbs have only one way. It would be only like the base form, okay? So they don't have this rule. Also, a modal verb is very specific in its use, as I said, to talk about obligation, possibility, and also advice, stuff like that. So a modal verb is very specific for some situations, but not for all of the situations, right? And the most important characteristic is that they are not conjugated in the same way. So, for example, I cannot use might like in the same way I would use do in the past, for example. So if I say I might go, it's a future possibility and that's it. But if I want to use might in the past, it's not possible, right? So yeah, it's like another category to express certain ideas, if you wish, right? So again, in English, we have regular and irregular verbs. Then we have auxiliary verbs, and then we have modal verbs. And yeah, it's kind of a specific of the English language because, as I have mentioned before, we don't have the same category in Spanish, and we don't have something not even close to modal verbs, right? So yeah, that's why they can be quite tricky for all of us. So yeah, that's a modal verb. I'm hoping that I have helped Ale. So yeah.
Yes, you
Alright.
have. Thank you very much.
Yeah, good. Then we have he's tired. Is this sentence is passive or active? It's definitely let me copy it. It's definitely active voice. But let me copy it anyway. He is tired. So what do we have? The formula of the active voice. And what is that formula? We have subject plus be in any tense plus adjective. So that's definitely passive voice. Why is it not active? Because the third word, tired, is not a participle form. It's an adjective. Okay, so careful with that. And this is a very good question because I said verb to be plus plus the participle form, that's definitely a passive voice, and that is true always. So sometimes we have something that looks like like the third form of the verb, like the participle form, but it's not. Tired in this case is an adjective, it's not the third form of any verb. So yeah, that's a very good question for that reason. Yeah, that's pretty much it with that one. Any other question or comments before I show you some exercises?
Valeria, hello. We have one question about the same example.
Yes.
So, in the passive voice, the subject is possible only object. Help me understand, please. What is the subject in the passive sentence in passive voice?
Yeah, let's go with that one. So, for example, I wrote a book. Or let's say William. William wrote a book. All right, this is active voice. We have the subject is the person who does the action. So after the subject, the doer, if you wish, we have the verb, it's in the past. And then we have a complement or an object, a direct object. Yes. So what it's done, the book. That's it. That's what the object is. So in the active voice, we always have like that: subject, verb, object. Let me write it here. Let me close this. And we have formula is subject, verb in any tense, and object, which is actually a direct object, right? So that's a deal. Then in the passive voice, we need to start by the object. What is the object? A book. All right, so we start like this: a book. And then we need the verb to be. We know that the verb to be plus the participle form is the formula for the passive voice. So here we have a verb in the past, so the verb to be must be used in the past too. Then the participle form of this verb, which would be written. And then we can add, or we may not add, the doer of the action, the subject, because the subject is not important, it's not relevant, it's unknown, we don't want to mention it, etc. So only if it's necessary, you are going to mention who did it. Otherwise, don't mention it, because in the passive voice, we tend not to use it. So we would say by William in this case. All right, so the formula would be object plus be in any tense plus participle form plus a subject is if necessary. It's not always necessary again. Right, so that would be the formula of the the passive voice there. I'm hoping that this is clearer. Let me move this a little bit. And then, yeah, that's the deal. So yeah, I hope I have helped. He was tired of waiting. No, that's definitely, he was tired of waiting. Still active because you still have subject, verb to be in the past, adjective. So it's the same formula. So it's definitely active voice. For it to be passive voice, you need the participle form of the verb. Without the participle form, it's not a passive voice. So that's the key. Alejandra, tell us.
Thank you. I'm not pretty sure, but maybe the confusion is also because in Spanish, we have the subjects are I, you, he, she, it, they, we, etc.
Mhm.
But in the passive voice, it's always an it. But in Spanish, it is also a subject.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it makes sense to discriminate these two kind of tenses.
Mhm. Yeah, it's perfectly correct. Yeah, it's not a problem. So yeah, that's why it's also complicated to compare the two languages, because it doesn't work the same in the two languages. So I prefer I prefer to be understood, sorry, like this. Like, you always start by the subject, like the thing that was done, right? So by the end of the sentence, if you wish, in the active voice. So the end of the sentence in the active voice becomes the beginning of the sentence is in the passive voice. I prefer it to be understood like that. So yeah, it's a little tricky, but I guess it's something that needs to be understood by practicing it again. Otherwise, it's just confusing. Yeah, do we have more comments or questions here?
One example more, sorry.
Yeah, no problem. Tell us.
It's very confusing. He was killed.
He was, can you repeat?
He was killed.
Killed.
Asesinato.
Oh, killed. Okay. Yeah, very good. He was killed. That's definitely a passive voice sentence. Yes. Why is this passive voice? You say, well, we have a subject there. Yeah, we have a subject, but he is the receiver of the action. He's not the doer. All right. So he, in this case, is not the doer. The subject is always the doer of the action. In this case, we don't know who did it. All right. So I don't know who the doer is. Who killed him? I have no idea. That sentence is not giving me that information. I know that one person was murdered, was killed. Who did it? It's not something that I know. How do we know this is passive voice? Not because there is or there isn't a subject, because we have verb to be plus the participle form. So that's why I keep repeating. If you have verb to be plus participle form, that's definitely passive voice, even though you may have something like a subject at the beginning. That's not important. The important thing is verb to be plus plus participle form of the verb. And also, how do we know? Because if you ask, who killed him? You have no answer. Who killed him? There's no doer of the action. He didn't kill himself. Somebody else killed him. Who did it? It's a mystery, right? So that's also a way you can understand this. And in the first example, even though it seems like it's passive voice, it's not, because the third word is not a participle form, it is an adjective. So that's an exception there.
I understand. Thank you. So it's obviously that he was tired is in active voice and he was killed is in passive voice. So I tried to tell about that it's very important to translate the sentence, because we translate the sentence only find was and killed, was tired, we can confuse.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, thank you, Ludmila, for that example, because it is a very important one. So yeah, in the translation, it may be lost the real meaning, but yeah, I truly recommend that you guys look at it this way. Passive voice, it's always be plus participle form. Yeah, so we have something else in the comments. So it's not always an it depends on the subject that owns the action. Well, not in the, it doesn't depend on the subject that owns the action. It depends on the object. Object. What do I mean by the object? The receiver of the action. Right? So it depends on the focus of the action. If your focus is on the doer, in this case, William, the subject, then your sentence is active because we know he is like the protagonist of my sentence. He is there. He is the focus. But in the active voice, the focus is on the receiver, on the object. I don't care about William anymore. I care about the object, like what was done, who received the action in that case, all right? So yeah, that's one way in which you can identify or tell them apart, if you wish, right? So in the passive voice, the doer is not what we care about. We care about what was done, what action was performed, if you wish. So yeah, it's not always an it, because yeah, in this example, it is an it. It was a bug. In the second example, for example, he was killed. It is also an it. I would say that it is because what it is important again is the action of someone being killed. In this case, we are always going to need to mention who was killed because we need something at the beginning. But yeah, what we care about it's the action, not the doer again. So yeah, it could be something else, not just an it, like a homework or a book. It could be just the action. Yeah, so that's a deal. All right, more comments, questions, examples, anything that you want to mention? All right, so one thing is having to understand the formula, having to tell apart the active and passive voice. And the other thing is having to use the correct verb tense. So yeah, that's something that we need to keep an eye on because it's quite a deal. It's quite an important thing that we need to focus on, right? So yeah, I totally recommend that you pay attention to the formula. You pay attention to the idea that you need the verb to be in any tense plus the participle form of any verb in order to have passive voice, right? So also, if by that you still don't understand if it's passive or active, I recommend asking questions like who did it? If you don't know, then it's definitely passive voice. Who wrote it? If we didn't know, then it would be, oh, I have no idea who wrote it. I know that a book was written. Then if you have the preposition by, it's always passive voice too. All right, so it was written by William, it was told by Maria, it's passive voice when you have the preposition by to mention who did the action, right? So there are some tips there in order to identify these kind of sentences. All right, so yeah, that's pretty much it. It's a lot to take, I know, but it is important to practice again. So I recommend that every day you write at least one sentence in the passive voice, then you are going to be able to internalize the structure first, then you change it into other tenses, and then you start using it more naturally. That's all we can do, practice. There's nothing else to be done here. And as you can see, I have used passive voice. There's nothing else to be done. So yeah, That's also passive voice. We're going to see how that is passive voice. But before doing that, I want you to practice this in order to be able to understand a little bit. So let me clear my board and let me go to my the exercise that I'm going to give you about passive voice here. All right, so I'm going to send you this link and I want you to work on this. What are you going to do? First step, you are going to choose an object, a thing, something that exists, anything. It could be my phone. It could be a napkin. It could be, what else do I have? A pin. A notebook. It could be a book. It could be my chocolate. Anything. Oh, my sunglasses. I don't know, whatever. All right, so choose something that you have in mind. Of course, it's going to be virtual, so it could be anything, right? So what are you going to do? First, choose an object, any object. In this case, a book, a random book. Then I'm going to Google an image of my book, and I'm going to paste it on my slide on Jamboard. All right, so once I get the image, I paste it on Jamboard. 2, we are going to write a number of characteristics. So this book is very interesting. It was written in, I don't know, I think it's from Argentina. Oh no, in Madrid. So from Madrid, from 2013. It's in Spanish. It's thin. It's made of paper, of course. It's made of white paper, not recycled paper. It's printed in black and white. It's quite interactive, etc. So characteristics. How can I describe this? It's soft, etc. Right? Here I give you some ideas: the material, the date it was made, the ways it is used. It is used to study, of course. It is used to be read, sorry, etc. 3, you are going to write sentences in the passive voice, talking about its most interesting characteristics. So now that I said from Madrid, in the passive voice, I would say it was written in Madrid. It was printed in Madrid. From 2013, it was printed in 2013, etc. Right? So that's it. Then in your teams, because you are going to work on teams, you are going to choose one classmate who can sell this to the rest of the group in 2 minutes. So, for example, hello guys, today I'm going to be talking about my book. This book was printed in Madrid and it was written in 2013. It is used to study French. It is, what else can I say? It is made of good quality paper, I guess. It is printed in black and white, etc. All right, so just trying to give characteristics about my book using the passive voice, right? So trying to persuade you or to convince you to be interested in this very good quality book. That's it, right? So it's just an exercise to practice. Which verb tense am I using? Present simple and past simple. It was written, it was printed, past. It is used to study, present simple. All right, so now that is something important because each of your teams is going to have a different verb tense that you need to work on. All right, so if you are team 1, good luck, because you are going to be using the present simple. If you are team 2, good luck, the present continuous. So you have to use an object that's gonna help you talk about the past, the present continuous, and etc., etc. So we are going to have 10 teams to sell a very good object, but using a specific verb tense. So that's going to be the challenge. God bless you guys who are in the present simple, because I think that using the present simple in the passive voice is easier than using the modal perfect, for example. But yeah, we all need to practice, and yeah, it's out of luck. So yeah, in case you forget the instructions, they are right in there. In case you forget how to write the sentences, they are right in slide 1. All right, so yeah. How are you going to know which team you are in? Because if you are on room 1 on Zoom, you are going to be team 1. If you are on room 2, team 2, etc. The way we always work. Right, so yeah, tell me, do you have questions, comments, complaints before we go to the small rooms? Yeah, all right, so let me send it. Let me give you a few minutes to work on that, and I'll see you back. Don't take too long deciding what to talk about. Just pick whatever you have around you. Everything has been invented, everything has been made by someone, everything has been created from some material. So yeah, choose anything that can help you talk about it. And of course, if you need my help, ask me. I'll be on WhatsApp and I'll be on Zoom. So yeah. Now let me create the rooms and wish you good luck, because I think this is a quite of a difficult exercise. Let's go there. I'll see you back in a few minutes. Recording again. Yeah, so I'm going to take some minutes from your time. Sorry about it. I had to give you guys some more minutes to develop this a little bit. So what's going to happen? You have to sell this product to the rest of the class in less than 2 minutes, okay? Not more than that. And you have to present it. Like the way I did it with my book, I didn't do it so well, so I guess that you're going to do it so much better than me by saying, hello, everybody. This is Valeria speaking, and I'm going to be talking about my book. It is made of good quality paper, etc. All right, so trying to sell it, trying to convince the people that you are going to buy it. So Sash, do you want to buy my book? That's the idea, that you have to convince people and you get those kind of comments. So yeah, that's how it is going to work. Of course, this has to be convincing, so you have to try to have a different tone when you're presenting. What's going to happen? You have to send me the person who's going to sell this has to send me the video of you guys speaking, not more than 2 minutes, on WhatsApp, of course, just for me to have the video on it. So we are going to vote the best seller of each product. All right, so it's going to be like a class activity, and yeah, that's the thing. Now I have to tell you, let me check. Yeah, I have to tell you something. And next week I have to travel to Santa Cruz. I'm going to be a part of the book fair, La Feria del Libro. So especially on Tuesday, I'm not going to be able to be with you because I'm going to be reading at the same time of the class at the book fair. So yeah, it will be impossible for me to be with you. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to be with you on Thursday, because yeah, as I'm going to be part of the book fair, I'm not sure if I'm gonna have the time on Thursday. I will definitely not have the time on Saturday, and that's such bad news. So yeah, we will have to have asynchronous classes at least on Tuesday and on Saturday, because I'll be participating on the book fair. So I'm going to be telling you, of course, the instructions for each day, because I have been thinking about it, like how to make it in a little bit more interactive and make you practice the language. So yeah, I'm sorry about it. The dates are exactly the same with our last week of course. That's a little sad, yeah, for everybody. Now I'm going to ask on WhatsApp about the third exam, because we have a third exam to complete. I was thinking on moving it to next Saturday, and then moving a little forward the submission of the essay for 2 Saturdays after this one. All right, so we are going to be voting on WhatsApp, because yeah, we ran out of time tonight. But yeah, I'm going to be asking you a lot of questions there. So please answer my questions on WhatsApp so we can decide on the final dates. And yeah, I'm going to be telling you a date that we can get together again as a group, so we can finish the course not asynchronously, because that's going to be a little sad. So the week after the first week of June, we can get together again for the last time and talk about the marks and the final exams and say goodbye in a proper way. And yeah, of course, those in Santa Cruz can meet me in the book fair. I will be happy to see you there. So yeah, if you have extra comments, questions, or whatever you have, just let me know, and we'll be communicating on WhatsApp these days. So yeah, that's it. If you have extra questions, I'm sorry to be giving bad news. But yeah, if you have extra questions, stay with me a little longer. Otherwise, we may leave. Yeah, I'll be seeing you asynchronously on Tuesday. Nicole, tell us.
Hi, Val. To be clear, first of all, we have to make a video from this activity and
Yes.
send you through WhatsApp. Okay.
Yes.
Next
Only one
one,
person.
only person by group. Okay. The second one is we have a third exam that will be postponed to the June the 8th.
Yeah, to Saturday. Saturday the 8th, I guess.
Yes, 8th.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. And the essay is also for June 8th.
No, I was telling you that I was thinking on postponing it to June 15th, actually. But if you finish before that, you can submit it before that. So the deadline is 15th, but you can submit it before it if you have it ready.
And the video from the essay, we have to left in the drive also.
On Drive, yes, of course.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yep, good.
The same dates, right? The video and the essay are in June 15th.
Yes, definitely. Yep.
Thank
If you
you.
finish earlier, you can upload it earlier. So let me know, of course, so I can read it and watch it. Marcelo, tell us.
Yes, sorry, but it's not clear for me what we have to do about the video of an essay of the last exercise. I'm very confusing right now about our workshop or homework, sorry.
Yeah, okay. So what I'm going to do is to send an image with all the dates. So everything is clear. We have a third exam, which is going to take place on June the 8th. And then on June 15th, you will have to submit the essay and the video. But yeah, I'm gonna send an image with all the dates, so it's not so confusing.
Okay, thank you, Valerie.
Yeah, no problem. More questions, comments, complaints? All right, yeah. So if there are no more questions, I will be asking you a lot of questions on WhatsApp, so please participate. And again, if you have extra questions, you can stay a little longer with me here. Otherwise, I'll see you asynchronously on Tuesday.
Vale, one more question,
Right.
and the last one, please. It's
Yeah, tell
possible
me.
that we have to have a resume like another one exams to resume about these units before our exam.
Oh, yeah. Are you asking me if you're going to review the contents before the exam?
Yes, like a resume about all the things that we are studying of the last unit to before our exam.
Yeah, of course, definitely. That's so gonna happen. It's
Okay.
going to happen.
Very
I'm not
helpful
sure if
for
it's
us.
going to. Sorry?
It's very helpful for us
Yeah,
to
yeah, I
have
know.
this information.
Yeah, I wouldn't miss it. The deal is that I'm not sure if I'm going to have it asynchronously because I'm not sure if I have to read on Thursday night. But if it's asynchronous or not, it's going to be there, so don't worry.
Okay, thank you very much, Valerie. Have a good
Yeah, you too. Thank you very much.